back in 2014, two of us wrote an article, and it's titled "The State and Political Apology Towards Peace Building in Manipur." It was published in Gandhi Mark, volume 36. So the whole thesis of the article was based on what G.K. Pillai said in one of his discussion in IDSA, and we took the lead from him and was able to write that article. So in that sense, Mr. Pillai has a very special place, not only to me, to many of the scholars in Manipur. And in fact, in the Manipur Ki Baat, I believe 90% of what he said, we agree with him, and still it must have made the organizers unhappy. He talked about the importance of delivering fair justice and compensation to the victims of the violence, and that the Judicial Commission has to bring out a report so that the government and the policy makers can pick up from the state of uncertainty to something which is concrete with a direction. He also talked about the importance of holding population census in India, in the absence of which many of us are lost, and the researchers take off from the 2011 census figures, and each one of us start projecting figures in the ways that suit us. He also talked about the importance of socialization, in that the denizens in Manipur intermix and intermarry. But the new generation who receives new education away from home tend to forget that we live in this small state. He also talked about the importance of exercising delimitation, because based on that, there can be more political representation. Above all, he advised to the gathering that the problem of Manipur cannot be solved by outsiders. It is up to you. It is up to you. Call yourself Cookies or Meiteis or Nagas. You people have to sit down together and talk about. And he also talked about why certain communities get miffed or angry when there is a democratic demand. If the Meiteis feel that they deserve to have the scheduled tribe status, the government has nothing to do with it. The court has nothing to do with it. It will be the scheduled tribe commission. A commission is an autonomous body. And if the criteria are fulfilled, Meiteis deservedly can become the scheduled tribe. But why is that? Just because the Meiteis demand a scheduled tribe. Yes, it is your democratic right to organize rallies and protest against the demand, but it is certainly wrong to target that population. And he also talked about the violence in Manipur is not a problem of Manipur alone. It is a national security issue. The crackdown on narco-terrorists, drug smuggling, poppy plantation, cultivation, and the amount of narcotic drugs that enters into India are mostly from Manipur and Mizoram, coming in from either Myanmar or China. So, irrespective of you belonging to any community, think about your children and the national security of India. So these are wisdoms coming out from a gentleman who have served Manipur and also India. But there are only two gray areas where I feel, personally, I believe his trait, perhaps that again has to do with the history of Manipur pertaining to an insurgent outfit's reaction to certain Christian denomination, especially the Catholics. Mr. Pillai is from Kerala. We do not need to reveal his religious affiliation. But the noise being made in Kerala, especially by the Catholic, doesn't have much to do with what is happening in Manipur. But the history going back in the 1990s, in which around 6 Catholic fathers were killed by an insurgent outfit, that really was the kind of wounded memory I believe they carry. And in his opening remark, this was the same issue he brought out and said that in the valley areas, all the Meitei Christian churches were burned down. Secondly, around 18,000 Meitei Christians have been forcefully using guns by the radicals reconverted to Hinduism. And this made me think, because certainly there was a controversy surrounding the issue of conversion, reconversion, and I had the opportunity of talking to Philem Rohan, a young Christian Meitei leader, and I asked him how many Meitei churches were burned down. Tamo, 259. And out of these 259, 8 were burned down by the cookies. That's a fact. The same fact information I shared with Karan Thapartu in one of his talk shows. Then I raised the issue of reconversion of the Meitei Christians into Hindus, and he said, Tamo, there's just a rumor. Out of a total population of 2 lakh Meitei Christians, perhaps few might have reconverted. That is their personal freedom, but I don't believe none of them were reconverted using guns. So this is an area where, while reporting or sharing information, because we know the minority religious people are often persecuted. The history of Christianity is full of persecution. Their missionaries were persecuted, be it in Japan, Russia, or any other regions of the world. Yes, they were persecuted. But to link a similar kind of persecution with the ongoing violence carries the potential of already in the European Union this issue was raised, and the many parliamentarians started questioning the Indian state. So there I believe Mr. Pillai was not careful with his utterances. Secondly, he alleged that the relief camps in Chuchanpur and Kadangban did not receive in the form of goods or monetary assistance from the government of Manipur. Again, I had the opportunity of speaking with the DC of Chuchanpur and also with the DC of Kangpokpi. He said, buddy, look here, doctor. We are running a government, and government, we are permanent executives. We cannot be biased, and we have been sending them goods. And he sent me a list for Chuchanpur, more than 80 items, and more than one-time payment, starting from 2023 after me, then each month amounting to crores of rupees. Same to other districts like Kangpokpi, Fezrol, there are no relief camps. But wherever there are relief camps, the government had been sincere enough to deliver the goods or financial assistance. So here again, it would be wrong to assume that a government in which the Meiteis are the majority would be flexing their muscles and forgetting their humanitarian services. When he raised the issue of this type of issues, which does not have a kind of ground bearing, I was reminded of the Kadangban and the Senjam Karang, Chirang, bombing using drones by the Kuki militants. At that time, two high-flying personalities of India, General Upendra Dwivedi, said, no drone bombs. At the same time, the former DG of Assam Rifles, Lieutenant General P.C. Nair, again from Kerala, allegedly said that there was no drone bombing in these areas. But recently we have heard the findings of the NIA, and the Business Times headlines is interesting, saying that, drone bombs rain in Manipur for the first time in the history of Manipur. So, gentlemen withstanding, people withstanding, has to talk about the kind of humanitarian crisis we face in Manipur. And this made me to further question Mr. G.K. Pillai about the population, abnormal population growth in Manipur. All right, 2011, census stopped, that was the last time. But before that, the history is starting from 1881, when the first census was exercised in Manipur, and coming down to 2011, there has been abnormal population growth of certain communities like the Kukis. All right, there were no Kukis in Manipur is another issue. But what the majority people has been arguing is that there are certain places where human habitat should be prohibited. And even if legally allowed, that legality has to be respected. I'm talking about the protected forest areas. Villages already there cannot expand their number. This is the law. There has been unprecedented growth of villages again. Let me come back to the demographic growth. In 1881, the Kuki population was 25,384. 1901, the Kuki population was 41,262. 1911, 63,494. 31, 78,754. And coming down, the figures keep on increasing. That's very obvious. We are all biological beings, but still, the element of surprise is always there. 1951, again, it was 79,919. 1961, 105,864. 71, 148, a quantum jump we witnessed here. 148,553. 1981, 164, 123. 1991, 273,095. 2001, 371, 213. 2011, 448,214. There has been a linear, abnormal kind of population growth pertinent to this community. And regarding the growth of the villages, based on a research undertaken by the Population Commission, which he hasn't published yet, I have the record from 1969 to the present time, that is 2018, not the present time. So here again we find 4 districts, Suchanpur, Chandul, Tengnopal, and Kangpopi, having the highest number of growth of villages. Perhaps Pillai is right. Because of the political economy of Manreka, perhaps it becomes a kind of enticement for the Kuki chiefs to establish new villages, even neglecting that quantum of population. Perhaps that is also one of the driving forces. But when this incident in May was about to erupt, the government of Manipur appointed, it formed a committee which was headed by a Kuki minister and started dictating going to the ground. If there are illegal immigrants who have established villages in Manipur, they did encounter, they did bring out a report. Perhaps it is the inability to control or to check the porous border between Manipur and Myanmar, or perhaps between Mizoram and Myanmar. But like Pillai said, the porous area cannot be left unguarded. And finally, what I want to emphasize here is, without taking much more time, we need to live together. When COCOMI or any other, I also belong to the majority community, when we start accusing, it is not to the whole community. Our line of thinking was, terrorists do not have a place in our society, and especially if they are running a kind of human traffic, if they are gun running or taking part in smuggling of narcotic drugs, and if they are providing protection to the illegal poppy cultivators in Manipur. With this, I end my time. Thank you for giving me your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Homen Thangjam, for the wonderful article, well researched. We have quite enlightened